The science fiction story begins by showcasing an organization named Genesis, a private organization that conducted numerous space missions for the development of humanity. Now, the leader of the Genesis company was organizing a mission where they would send several astronauts to Mars. However, these astronauts wouldn't just conduct research on Mars. They would have to stay there permanently. So, continuous monitoring of these astronauts from Earth was essential, and if the Genesis company's mission remained successful, they would transfer more people to Mars. The main vision was to make Mars habitable like Earth, where humans could live comfortably. The Genesis company had already started receiving funding from various businessmen for its new project, and everyone was quickly getting ready for the mission, which had also been launched. In the mission to go to the planet Mars, Sarah, one of the astronauts, was the leader. However, it was discovered midway that Sarah was pregnant, and now their spaceship was already heading towards the planet Mars, so they couldn't turn back towards Earth. When the leaders of the Genesis company found out about this, they were very excited. However, now they had to continue their mission. Sarah, despite being pregnant, somehow manages to take her unborn child with her on the mission to Mars. After spending several months continuously in space, all the astronauts finally reached Mars. When they stepped foot on Mars' surface, they found out that Sarah was about to give birth. Therefore, the headquarters granted permission, and all the astronauts started helping Sarah with her delivery. Luckily, Sarah's child was born perfectly healthy. However, due to the gravity of Mars, Sarah's condition started deteriorating rapidly. Sarah began to suffer a lot because Mars' gravity is only 1/3 of Earth's, and the environment there is different. When the leader of the Genesis company learned about this, he became very depressed. Because if any of the investors found out that one of their astronauts had given birth during the mission, they might refuse to fund the mission anymore. That's why the leader of the Genesis company decided to keep this whole thing a secret. All the astronauts, now on Mars, started taking care of Sarah's child. When the reports came in, it was found that this child had already adapted to the entire environment. His bones had become delicate like Mars' environment, and if this child were brought back to Earth, he would not survive in the different environment. After much thought, the people at the Genesis company decided that they would have to leave the child on Mars because that was the only way to keep him alive. Over the years, all the astronauts had been living on Mars for a full 15 years. The little child of Sarah, whose name was Gardner, had now grown up. Gardner was the only boy among all humans who was born on the planet Mars. Gardner was quite clever and intelligent. Because he had been living among so many astronauts since childhood, his IQ level was quite high. However, Gardner had no idea about his mom and dad, nor could any of the astronauts present on Mars tell him about his parents. Still, Gardner had all the emotions for his parents inside him and wanted to know everything about them. Over the years, Gardner had also learned all the work of the astronauts unofficially, meaning he had also become an unofficial astronaut. One day, while working in the research laboratory, Gardner finds a locker under his mom's name. However, Gardner had no idea about the password for this locker, so he starts hacking the password. Within a few minutes, Gardner cracks the password and opens his mom's locker. Inside, he finds many things: books, pen drives, and much more. Gardner first wears his mom's ring and then checks the pen drive by inserting it into the computer. He finds many videos of his mom, Sarah, having fun with a man. They both seem to enjoy each other's company a lot. Seeing this, Gardner gets an idea that maybe this man is his father. Gardner then takes photos of all those videos as a memory. Now, he was feeling a little satisfied because he finally got to see his mom and dad's face. In Gardner's life, there was a girl named Lhasa, but she was present on Earth. Gardner used to chat with Lhasa through chat very often. Lhasa was a very free-minded girl who liked to live freely. She also tells Gardner that you should live your life according to your own rules. But Gardner tells her that I am in a place from where I cannot go out. Apart from a few selected astronauts, I cannot meet anyone else because I am on Mars. In the research laboratory of Mars, where even Sarah's mom and dad were not present, the government had applied for different homes to take care of him. So, Lhasa used to live with a joint family from time to time, which she enjoyed a lot. She kept changing her home in this way. Now, influenced by the talks with Telsa, Gardner leaves the Space Research Center and starts driving a rover on the surface of Mars. Gardner felt that since he had been here for so many years, he was imprisoned, and now he wanted to live life on his own terms. Gardner drives the rover so fast that it overturns at one point. In this accident, Gardner's oxygen pipe comes off, and he struggles to breathe. But then an astronaut named Kainara comes to the rescue and saves Gardner's life, bringing him safely back to the Space Research Center. Kainara is very curious about how Gardner managed to open the lock and get out. Gardner's answer is simple. He has been living with people since childhood and has enough knowledge to perform these small tasks. After saving Gardner's life, Kainara reports the incident to the CEO of Genesis Company, who tells her that Gardner is now grown up and has the right to live on Earth. So, preparations need to be made to send Gardner back to Earth. Despite the high risk involved, Genesis CEO insists that they must take this risk. With everyone's support, Genesis CEO grants permission. So, the next day, Gardner's intense training begins. Kainara helps Gardner a lot in all these things, checking all the reports and making changes to his body so that he can live well on Earth. Gardner is very happy about all this and calls Lhasa to tell her that he will be back on Earth soon, and then they can live together. Telsa is also very happy to hear this news. Gardner's training is successfully completed, and his surgery goes well too. Now, he is fully prepared to travel towards Earth. After continuous travel, they reach Earth's orbit, lands on Earth. It's the first time Gardner sets foot on Earth, and he is very excited because he used to fly quite high with a balloon on Mars. The gravity of Earth is more than Mars, so Gardner couldn't fly in the air anymore. He finds himself in a place where many people are present. As rain starts pouring down, everyone rushes for shelter, but it's Gardner's first experience of rain, so he walks into the rain, enjoying it. Gardner arrives at the high school, feeling happy to see people of his age for the first time. Suddenly, he sees Lhasa, whom he wanted to meet, and goes to her. But Lhasa immediately slaps Gardner because he hadn't sent any messages or video calls for the past 6 months. Gardner tries to explain that he was on a trip for 6 months, but Lhasa doesn't believe him because she can't trust him anymore. For now, Telsa goes to her lecture class, leaving everything behind. Gardner followed her to the teacher's desk and stood in front of her. The teacher thought he might be a new admission, so she asked him to sit at the back. The class teacher was asking several students about various scientists and their inventions. Although many students in the class knew the answers, none could give a deep answer. Suddenly, Gardner starts answering those questions accurately, surprising the teacher and making all the students happy with his responses. But little did they know that Gardner had been among astronauts and scientists since childhood, and all these things were a piece of cake for him. After the class, Lhasa asks Gardner where he came from. Gardner bluntly says that he came from Mars, but Lhasa still doesn't believe him. Gardner shows her a photo of his mom and dad, indicating that he wanted to find his dad. However, Lhasa doesn't understand because Gardner doesn't know his father's name or address. Still, she wants to help Gardner, so she goes home to get some money. Meanwhile, the CEO of Genesis Company and Kainara arrive there. Kainara asks Gardner to come back because he will fall sick very quickly in this environment. But Gardner doesn't want to go back to them at all. So he starts running away from them, and the CEO and Kainara continuously follow him in their car. Suddenly, a small plane arrives at the scene, piloted by Lhasa, who quickly picks up Gardner and flies away with him. It means Lhasa also wanted to help Gardner, but unfortunately, she loses control of the plane shortly after taking off, and their plane was about to crash down. Just before the crash, both of them jumped out of the plane, narrowly escaping. When they reached a beach, Gardner realized that this was the same place where his mom and dad had met. When they both went inside, the man present in the photo was also present there. Showing him the photo, Gardner said, "You are my father," and he explained everything that he was Cyrus' son, born during a space mission, and at the same time, his mom had died. But the man was very excited and said, "I am calling the police." Lhasa immediately stopped the man and told him that Gardner had come from so far to meet him. But the man said, "I am not Cyrus' husband but her brother Telespe." He was heading towards the sea. Lhasa immediately told Gardner everything, that he was not your father but your uncle. But Gardner did not want to stay in this world at all because his father is no longer alive, so at least Gardner can choose his place of death. He started sinking directly into the water, but within a short time, the CEO of the Genesis company and the rest of his people arrived, who had rescued Gardner from there. Gardner was safely taken out, after which he kept asking the CEO of the Genesis company how my mom was. The CEO told that your mom was very kind-hearted and kind. Now a special secret is revealed that the one who was in a relationship with Syra was not anyone else but the CEO of the Genesis company. That is, the CEO of the Genesis company was Gardner's father. In any way, the leader of the Genesis company wanted to save his son. It is understood that until he takes his son away from the gravity of the Earth, he cannot be completely okay. So now, by placing his son in the spaceship, the leader of the Genesis company started going into the sky with his other people. They kept going away from the gravitational force of the Earth, and he couldn't stay on Earth in this way. And within a short time, Gardner was transferred to Mars. Gardner was doing a lot of research on the planet Mars with his father. And finally, when he got answers to all his questions, he was happy because he got answers to all his questions. And this is where our story ends.